Prime Minister Modi has asked the nation to make small sacrifices in the larger national interest. Buy less coal, avoid unnecessary foreign travel, use public transport, choose Swadeshi products, save fuel, strengthen the rupee. But perhaps the most striking part of this appeal is that the Prime Minister is not merely asking others to change, he is leading by example. And that brings us to this remarkable visual. These are before and after visuals of the Prime Minister's convoy. The difference is immense. From a huge convoy, the PM's convoy is just down to 2 cars. It's being said that the Prime Minister has directed his staff in charge of his security to reduce his convoy by 50%. And now this is being done by chief ministers of the BJP ruled state. The idea is to reduce the fuel consumption in the government starting from their own offices. A lot of critics say that this will not serve any purpose. But the Prime Minister is saying that this is about conserving your resources at a time when the world is affected by war which India is not controlling. India is not participating in it. But it has an impact on our own economy in multiple ways. So the Prime Minister spoke about a lot of other things, from edible oil to fertilizers to work from home. But I'll come to this basic point because these visuals themselves are very, very important. Even Amit Shah has done that. So the couple of visuals you'll see will be that of Amit Shah. He has also reduced his convoy. I'm joined by Yashovardhan Azad, former Secretary Security Government of India, who was also incidentally, by reason we tell you, was in charge of this entire SPG apparatus and had the opportunity to meet him. The office which was bang next to or in front of Akbar Road office of the Congress, and Subhamoy Bhattacharjee, consulting editor of the Business Standard and input editor of News 9, Brijesh Pandey. Let me straight away go to Mr. Azad, sir. 2 cars in the PM's convoy?
Well, that is a little shocking. I would maintain that definitely I respect PM's call. There's no doubt about it. And you know, this kind of a crisis which has taken place, almost all the countries, I was just seeing the list of the various countries in which the prime ministers have made an appeal, right from Singapore to even European countries. So in that respect, I fully appreciate what the Prime Minister has said, and I'm very happy that the state CMs are following it. In fact, the Congress CMs must do it, and they in the spirit of being nationalist about this. Now, about PM, however, I feel that the threat is extremely high. Exactly. And I would certainly say that at least without the essential component of PM's vehicles has to be 6 at the minimum. So I don't know if they are running with 2, but you need protection against the explosive. You need escort protection. You need those.
Let me then play those visuals again so that people understand what you're talking about. Let's play the visuals of the Prime Minister and let's keep only those 2 visuals on screen. Yes, sir. Please go on.
The 2 vehicles are absolutely insufficient, and I think the SPG chief must request the Prime Minister that we need to add a pilot, we need to add a tail car, because these are for.
It also doesn't have that moving hospital or that medical van.
Yes, exactly. So you need. There are reasons, tactical reasons, electronic reasons. There are operational reasons. That is how the carcade is maintained, and for a very high dignitary. Kartikeya, the difference between the PM and the CM is that no CM carries as much threat. Okay, for Punjab, I would still maintain that the security phalanx has to be, tight. In fact, I shudder how the PM was alone for 20 minutes on that Firozpur border on that particular day, just on the the border line of control on the international border. That was something horrendous. So there are states where the serious threat is there, for which we can have the essential component for operational reasons. But by and large, for the other teams who are not carrying threat, definitely should be reduced down. But my last point is that for PM, certainly minimum carcade of 6 is essential.
Okay. Shubhamoy, my question is slightly tangential to this. I know certain things are about optics and giving a strong message, but is that crisis, which the Prime Minister is suggesting, so grave that we should brace ourselves up to Are we being cajoled to brace for a deeper crisis?
See, Karthikeya, the point is Prime Minister Modi has tremendous charismatic appeal way beyond what his party has. And he himself, for instance, during the COVID crisis, he alone carried the entire brunt of the message, a harsh message that people have to go in for lockdown, even earlier periods. Now, given that sort of a thing, I think what we are seeing out here is that the Prime Minister should have, his team or somebody should have thought through that if he says people will cut down, but the picture which you're just discussing right now shows that he's having to do it. The chief ministers and others should have been told and should have been asked and should have been given strict strictures to cut down, because see, people don't get to see the Prime Minister that often, but people get to see huge convoys by chief ministers, wannabe ministers and others clogging up the highway. That is where the problem is. That is what the people are annoyed about. And those people have no reason to be doing it. And that is where the message should have gone straight, that you guys cut it down.
Shubham, government is, I would say, pretty sensitive about it, because they maintain that, there is no austerity. There is no cut in capital expenditure. There is no cut in welfares. There is no cut in subsidies. So I'm not saying they're being touchy, but they're maintaining it. So it's not about austerity. It's about fuel conservation. So my question is very different. Fuel is not a standalone commodity. It has it has the capacity to impact the entire gamut of things which we call economy.
That's right. And which is why I'm saying that there is no reason to have done either. For instance, see, what Mr. Modi says carries a tremendous resonance across India. His charisma builds it. Now, when people listen to it carefully and people react to him, his Mann Ki Baat is an outreach which is unprecedented. Given all that thing, he knows that this is not about austerity, this is about doing things smartly. When that is happening, what has happened is that while his party and I would say sections, largely the party, political messaging got a bit garbled here. It is not, as you're rightly saying, it's not about austerity. Fuel cut is not necessary, because remember, fuel cut also, for instance, if people work from home, and yesterday we were discussing that, or a couple of days ago, it actually could hurt the lower income groups, the taxi people, the transporters, people in the cities who live from the transport economy. So it's not about austerity, but it is about doing
I think
things
it's far more
smartly,
complex.
which makes it better.
I completely agree. It's far more complex. I'm not going to say, do you have inside information, Brijesh, but what's your hunch? Because last in COVID, when he did this, within a span of 4 days, the entire lockdown had happened.
I think it is, a more of homeopathic medicine given to the kind of shock which you're going to get, I think, in some time from now if the conflict continues. So basically, he's bracing you up for bigger things to follow. Optics-wise, if you ask me, it's a good visual. I agree with Shobho that, the fact of the matter is that will Prime Minister do it himself? People tend to follow and all. But will it have a pragmatic effect on the ground? I don't think so. I completely agree with Yashovardhanji that it is not about an individual. It is about a post.
Institution.
The post of the Prime Minister of this country, and where we have seen so many terrorist attacks and things like that, I don't think that his security can be compromised just because we want to save few liters of diesel or petrol. That is non-negotiable. And if we can't do that, we have to do a serious rethink about who we are as a power structure. Punjab, I completely agree. It should not convert this situation into a politics of whether BJP is doing and Congress is not doing and things like that. It has to be strictly based on your risk assessment. If the Punjab Chief Minister is forced to cut down on his security, it can have a cascading effect because there is a history behind it. And, a Chief Minister of, say, Uttar Pradesh can carry less security, or any other state.
But not JNK.
But not JNK. If you ask JNK Chief Minister to carry with 2 convoy, honestly speaking, I found this visual because we have been covering Prime Minister for, quite some time now, more than a decade and a half at least. I was taken aback by these visuals of, just 2 cars going and, the Prime Minister's convoy. I'm not saying that the Prime Minister should walk with 20 convoys and all, but there has to be a minimum security apparatus that has to be there.
It didn't even have a decoy.
It didn't have anything. Forget decoy. There's nothing. There's nothing in that convoy.
It didn't even have
I would personally feel that's a huge security lapse rather than anything else. And if you ask me, when people talk about using buses and other common medium which will save fuel and all, in Delhi it's very easy to say you use metro, but you go to other cities, Agra, Allahabad, Lucknow and others. Are the transport system that good? No, it is not. You talk about EV. There's a lot of chatter about EV. But is EV that efficient, or is EV people? Have you convinced people to buy EV? Have you provided enough infrastructure wherewithal? I have a EV, but can you ask me to travel from across city? I will shudder at the thought. So you have to work at various levels at one go before you really want to
I'll take a closing statement from Mr. Azad, sir.
I think the crisis is real. There is a tremendous pressure. Oil reserves, aviation fuel. In fact, all the airlines want to raise the prices. Hardeep Puri has just said that we have 60 days of stocks.
Yes.
It's not easy because if you see in the Mufassil areas and other areas, people are lining up with 1 kilometer lines. So the pressure is extremely high. The hoarding has already begun. Rupee is bloody floating at 95, which is a joke. So, it's a huge opportunity for, which are going downwards, whether it's on fertilizers, whether it's a pressure on all that. So, I totally agree with Brajesh when he says this is a kind of homeopathic medicine preparing you for and it's time that we heard that very, very seriously. But I'll tell you one thing, which again I support Pandeyji. He said that, इसका क्या follow up हो रहा है states में. I'm seeing from my own Madhya Pradesh or Bihar how 64 convoy 64 vehicle convoys are running all over. It has become a joke, and you have to take it down right at the district level. Only then this is going to be very effective.
Okay. Thank you all of you for joining me in this second on point. And my personal opinion is that there cannot be any compromise when it comes to the security of our Prime Minister. I mean, so whether we have a fuel for a day or 1 hour or 3 hours, the security of our Prime Minister is paramount. People can take the pain, but the Prime Minister has to be fully secure.